The whole Norman Rockwell deal. I restored it myself. It's my pride and joy. So when Cheryl smiled and said, "Some homes were just meant for events," I had a bad feeling. I raised my hand. "Just to be clear, this would be voluntary, right? You're not planning to assign someone's house?" Everyone laughed nervously. Cheryl's grin twitched. "Of course not." We'd ask. Spoiler alert, they didn't. A few weeks later, I started getting weird mail. Envelopes with event preparation notice stamped on them. Requests for access. Landscaping evaluations. One letter had a sketch of my house with a floral arch photoshopped onto the porch. I marched over to Cheryl's house to confront her. She answered the door with her iPad and that same shark-tooth smile. "It's nothing serious," she cooed. "We're just preparing contingency options." I told her I wasn't interested. She tilted her head. "Oh, come on. It's just one day, and it's for my daughter. You wouldn't want to be the reason her wedding gets ruined, would you?" That's when I realized I wasn't being asked. I was being cornered. I shut it down, hard, sent an official notice, hired a real estate attorney to draw up a cease and desist. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong, because 2 weeks later, while I was away on a business trip, they broke in. Not with crowbars, but with contracts, clipboards, and bolt cutters. They entered my backyard, set up staging equipment, marked my patio with chalk for tent setup. They called it a preliminary walkthrough. I called it what it was, trespassing. And trust me, that was just the beginning. QQQ, when I came back from my business trip, I found pink chalk lines all over my patio. There were ribbons tied to my fence posts, tags on my hedges, and a large plastic tub labeled "Wedding Supplies Do Not Move." I stood there, keys still in my hand, blinking at the words like they were in a different language. They weren't. It was my house, my yard, my property, and it had been booked like a public venue. I stormed inside to find a note taped to my refrigerator. "Hi, hope the trip was amazing." Just finalizing the layout. "Looking fabulous. Cheryl fabulous." I immediately called her. Straight to voicemail. Then I tried the HOA office. Voicemail. I finally emailed the board and CC'd everyone I could find, threatening legal action if anyone stepped foot on my property again. The next morning I received a violation notice from the HOA. Violation, obstruction of community event. Fine, $500. That was followed by non-compliant landscaping. 100, unneighborly conduct. 150, failure to comply with administrative requests. 200. They were fabricating violations like a vending machine with a grudge. I appealed. Denied. They posted warnings on my front door in red ink, making it look like I was some public health hazard. Neighbors started whispering. One couple crossed the street to avoid walking past me. Then came the sabotage. My mailbox got ripped off its post one night. The next day, someone dumped a pile of mulch across my driveway, blocking my car in. Coincidence? Maybe, but then my water was shut off, temporarily of course. Maintenance, they said. I installed cameras. The next night, someone spray-painted a giant heart on my garage door with the initials C+M, Cheryl's daughter and her fiancé. It was their wedding monogram. I filed a police report. They said it was a civil matter. The HOA insisted I was harassing them. Then I got the email that lit the match. We've finalized the date. September 18th, ceremony at 4 p.m. followed by reception. We appreciate your cooperation. My cooperation? That was the last straw. They had invited 80 people to my home, booked a caterer, florist, and DJ. They even listed my address on a wedding website. I called every vendor, told them the truth. Some backed out. Others said they'd been paid in advance, and the HOA had claimed the house was on loan. So I did what any reasonable man would do. I called the demolition crew. No, not to raise the house, but to schedule foundation repair, a full-scale project. Jackhammers, soil testing, the works. Entire backyard torn up for 6 weeks. Starting September 15th. The foreman warned me it would be loud, messy, and intrusive. Perfect. I posted signs. Construction zone. Do not enter. I reported every fine I received to the city. I even contacted a local news station just in case. And the final blow? I sent the HOA a notarized letter from my attorney declaring my property officially unsafe and inaccessible due to the repairs. Oh, but Cheryl didn't back down. She emailed me directly. You can't stop love. We're still proceeding. See you at the altar. This woman was planning to hold a wedding on an active construction site. So I did something a little dramatic. I moved out for a week, but not before giving my demolition Crew 1 specific instruction. Start at 9 a.m. sharp on September 18th. 3 days after the non-wedding disaster, my phone buzzed. Urgent HOA board meeting. Attendance required. I showed up late on purpose. By the time I walked into the clubhouse, Cheryl was already mid-meltdown, her voice echoing off the poorly insulated drywall. This is political. He orchestrated the whole thing. It's a smear campaign. She was sweating through her blazer, holding a manila folder stuffed with what I assume were printed out Yelp reviews from the florist. Across the table sat the rest of the HOA board, 4 members, now very visibly uncomfortable. I recognized one of them as the guy Cheryl fined last month for having a garden gnome that lacked colonial character. I took a seat, folded my arms. The vice president of the board cleared his throat. Mr. Lane, is it true that you notified us in writing multiple times that your property was not to be used for any HOA event? Correct. Is it also true that you filed cease and desist notices, hired legal representation, and reported multiple violations to the city? Also correct. He sighed. And Cheryl, did you, without board consensus, approve the use of his property for a private event? Cheryl slammed her folder shut. It was symbolic. It would have raised the community's profile. Besides, it wasn't technically an event. It was a celebration of life. A wedding, Cheryl, someone muttered. Then the vice president dropped the bomb. You violated 3 HOA bylaws, misappropriated funds for event rentals, and submitted a falsified access waiver claiming to have Mr. Lane's consent. Wait, what funds? I asked. Turns out, she used HOA reserve funds to pay for the chairs, flowers, and DJ deposit. Thousands of dollars gone. And the board? They'd had enough. They took a vote right then and there. 4-0. Cheryl was removed as HOA president. But it got better. One of the board members, an accountant, had already filed an internal audit request. If the HOA didn't report Cheryl's misuse of funds, they'd be liable too. Within a week, Cheryl was being investigated for fraud, misconduct, and trespassing. She lawyered up fast, but not fast enough. The city slapped her with multiple citations. The vendors filed small claims lawsuits. And best of all, the neighborhood voted to dissolve the HOA entirely. Yep, no more Karen committee. No more surprise bylaws. No more fines for lawn personality. It was poetic. She tried to turn my house into a wedding venue without permission. Instead, she turned the entire neighborhood against her. And the cherry on top, I used her destroyed wedding day footage, captured by my cameras and the news crew, and submitted it to a popular horror YouTube channel. It went viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments, memes, reaction videos. My favorite? A slowed-down clip of Cheryl yelling, "You can't stop love," with dramatic violin music and explosions behind her. 3 months later, my backyard was fully restored. New sod, fresh stonework. The porch swing was back in place. No chalk lines, no trespassing vendors. Just peace and quiet. Cheryl? She moved. Word is she sold her house below market value to cover legal fees. Nobody threw her a going-away party. Unless you count the one I had with my neighbors, burgers, beers, and a small fire pit ceremony where we roasted her final HOA notice. We even toasted to the sign I kept from the construction. Trespassers will be photographed and prosecuted. It now hangs in my garage like a war trophy. Funny how one person's sense of entitlement can unravel a whole community, and how that same community can snap out of it. When they finally see through the curtain of control, what did I learn? You have to stand your ground, even when it feels ridiculous. Even when the other side is smiling while stabbing you with red tape and fake charm. People like Cheryl count on you staying silent. They feed on apathy. So when you finally make noise, when you swing back, they collapse. Because all bullies do, eventually. I didn't just stop a wedding. I ended a dictatorship disguised as a neighborhood improvement committee. And I got to do it with jackhammers, lawsuits, and a slow sip of iced tea. Now that's what I call foundational justice. What would you have done if someone tried to schedule a wedding at your house? Comment below with "Justice served" if you made it to the end, or your favorite part of the takedown. And if you've ever dealt with an HOA horror story, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories where karma isn't just poetic, it's structural.